Okay, I think this worked. Okay, so we're going to be doing now chapter 31, 33, and 34 of Tanya. We're skipping chapter 32 because 32 is in some way like a side topic in some way. And we're going to focus on these three chapters, 31, 33, and 34, because they talk about one theme, which is what to do to create a sense of joy in our service of Hashem. Right? In chapter 26, 27, 28, the Alter Rebbe dealt with different things that can cause us to be worried and how to deal with that, right? Remember that? Remembering everything comes from Hashem, remembering that even if we have to fight, our animal soul doesn't make us bad people, makes us normal people, and that every time we fight our animal soul, it's a big mitzvah. Remembering that even if our animal soul distracts us during prayer, it doesn't mean our prayer isn't good. It means our prayer is so good that the animal soul is trying to fight it. Right? These are all things we talked about in chapter 26, 27, 28. And then yesterday in chapter 29 and 30, we discussed what a person does if he feels a sense of complacency. He feels like, I'm okay, leave me alone, I don't have to work any harder. I'm good. I don't have to work harder. And that, we said, comes from a sense of arrogance from the animal soul. And the way to deal with that is by telling yourself, no, it's not okay. You've got a lot of work to do. Besides for reminding oneself of the bad things one's done, just the very fact that I feel arrogant makes me already distant from Hashem. And then in chapter 30, the Alter Rebbe said, you feel like you're so good about yourself because you look at other people and you see that they're not good. Well, how much effort do they have to do to be any little bit of good? How much effort does a person who struggles with keeping kosher, how much effort did they have to put in to stop themselves from going to a non-kosher restaurant? Take all the effort that you're expecting them to do to control themselves and not go to a restaurant, and put all that effort into your prayer before you start judging somebody else and thinking you're okay and you're better than the other guy. That's what the Alter Rebbe told us in chapter 29 and 30. And 31 says the Alter Rebbe like this. When a person does this, when a person goes through this process and thinks about why he's not okay and why he has lots of work to do, it might lead to a feeling of depression. He's going to feel sad about himself. And we already said in chapter 28, 26, that feeling sad about yourself is not a good thing, because you have to be light on your feet to serve Hashem, right? You got to be happy. You can't be worried. And here, he's thinking about how he's not okay. He's thinking about how much work he has to do, and that might leave him with a sense of sadness. So it says the Alter Rebbe two things. First of all, the sadness you're feeling about how you're not doing well and you need a lot of work to do is only temporary. Because once you get that feeling of sadness, where are you going to go to from here? You're feeling sad over the fact that you're distant from Hashem. You're feeling sad over the fact that you have a lot of work to do. So where are you going to go from there? Do the work. And when you do the work, what are you going to be? Happy. Because now I have the opportunity to serve Hashem. What made me sad? What made me sad is the fact that I looked at myself and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so far from where I have to be. If that's what made me sad, then the next step is feel happy, because you're now going to begin the process of getting to where you have to go, of getting closer to Hashem. Following? So in chapter 26, when he said that thoughts pop into your mind of how bad you are because of the sin you've done, and he said don't feel sad about that, that's because it popped into your mind. And when this idea of how bad I am pops into my mind, then that's the animal soul trying to drag me down and make me feel bad about myself. But in this case, it didn't pop into my mind. It's a process I went through. I went through a process of thinking about how much work I have to do, and what was the point? What was the point of going through that process? So I can actually get on the road to doing what I have to do. Following? So it's not like the sadness I feel about myself and how much terrible things I've done and how far I am from Hashem and how arrogant I am. This sadness isn't meant to just stay where that is. It's meant to move into the next stage, which is starting to get closer to Hashem by working, by doing mitzvahs, by doing Torah. Following? That's the first thing. The second thing the Alter Rebbe says is, let's think about this a little bit deeper. The Alter Rebbe says there are two different words that describe the experience about feeling bad about yourself for your distance from Hashem, feeling bad about your sin or feeling bad about your arrogance or something like that. There are two different words in Hebrew. I'm going to try to translate them into English. One word in Hebrew is atzvot, which means depression or sadness. What's the sensation, what's the feeling of sadness and depression? You feel heavy, you feel tired, you feel lazy, you feel slow. That, says the Alter Rebbe, that's a bad feeling. It's just going to make you not work. It's just going to make you feel bad about yourself, and it's not going to motivate you to do anything good. But the feeling you're getting here shouldn't be that kind of feeling. It shouldn't be atzvot. It shouldn't be depression and sadness. It should be what he calls in Hebrew, merirut, which means to be bitter. To be sad about yourself means I lack all feeling. The whole thing is worthless. That is a terrible feeling. But merirus, to be bitter about what you are, that's not a feeling of laziness. That's a feeling of agitation. You feel motivated. This isn't good. I got to get out of here. See the difference? So one type of sadness is you feel stuck. I'm a loser. Leave me alone. I did so many bad things. I'm worthless. That's a terrible feeling, and you should never have that feeling. But a feeling of agitation. Oh my gosh, the place I'm in is not good for me. I got to get out of this place. That's a good feeling. Because what's that going to do? It's going to make you move. Following? Now, where are you going to move to? And this comes to the first thing the Alter Rebbe tells us of how we can get joy in our service of Hashem. All of the things we thought about in chapter 29 and 30, about how far we are from Hashem because of our arrogance. Where does that arrogance come from? From the godly soul, the animal soul. Animal soul. Because the animal soul always says, I. Right? I want, I feel good about myself. Give me. Right? That's the animal soul. Right? So says the Alter Rebbe, you can look at yourself and say, that's true. I am arrogant. Because I am an animal soul. But if I dig deep down, what's really going on under my arrogance? I have a godly soul. And that godly soul is pure in its connection to Hashem. Follow? Even though my animal soul is arrogant, and my animal soul is far from Hashem, because all it does is think about itself. But that's not the whole picture. I have a whole other part of me. I have another part of me that's a godly soul. It's pure and connected. And this pure part of me, this godly soul, you know what it wants? It's begging, it's dying. Please let me express myself. Let me show you what I'm capable of doing. So the godly soul, the part of me that's pure, and the part of me that just wants to connect to Hashem, is stuck inside of the arrogance of the animal soul. Following? This, says the Alter Rebbe, is like a prison for the godly soul. The godly soul came from Hashem himself before this soul came to the body, before a person was born. The godly soul was perfect. It was connected to Hashem. It was enjoying life. Everything was fantastic. And then Hashem made it go down. And Hashem put it into a physical body, into an animal soul. And now the godly soul is stuck inside of a person who thinks about himself all day long. Right? And it's trapped. It's trapped inside of a person, me and you, who think about ourselves all day long. So what do we have to do to the godly soul? We have to free it from the jail. This jail of my arrogance, of me thinking about myself all day long. Let the godly soul free itself from that. How do we do that? How do we do that? How do you free the godly soul? By stop doing something for yourself and do something for Hashem. What's that? Torah and mitzvahs. So when a person does Torah and mitzvahs and says, the way I feel about myself, not important. What does Hashem want? Hashem wants me to do Torah and mitzvahs. Okay, let's do that. So what did he just do to his godly soul? He gave it freedom. The godly soul was stuck in, it wants to connect to Hashem. That's all it feels. It's all it wants all day long, right? All it wants is just to feel something, to feel a connection to Hashem, to be connected to Hashem. But it's stuck inside of a body and an animal soul. It thinks about itself all day long. So the moment you push away that selfish thought and say, okay, you know what? Put myself aside. What does Hashem want? He wants Torah and learning and prayer. Let's do Torah, learning, and prayer. Now you gave the godly soul freedom. It gets to express itself. Following? That is the first level of joy. There's nothing happier than someone who feels stuck and trapped. And all of a sudden, he can breathe. He can do what he really wants. You know that feeling? When sometimes you're around other people, let's just say, let's use an example. You're around other people and you feel like when you're near them, you have to behave a certain way. Right? So like you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to do the wrong thing. So you feel kind of like trapped, like you're wearing a stiff suit, Like you have to behave properly, and then you get home, freedom. Just sit on the couch and just do what I want, right? That's what the godly soul feels like when you do Torah and mitzvahs. Because when you're walking around all day long and thinking about yourself, the godly soul feels trapped in there. I'm stuck in this body and this brain that's thinking about itself all day long. I can't do anything that I want. I can't serve Hashem. I can't connect. I can't. And then when you push that selfishness aside and you allow the godly soul to learn and to do a mitzvah and to pray, now it feels like, finally. It's free. And if we think about Torah and mitzvahs that way, it's going to give us a whole new joy. Right? Yeah. And so what we see is that the two feelings, the feeling we talked about in 29 and 30, about how bad my situation is, how far I am from Hashem, how arrogant I am, that's true. But at the same time, there's something deeper. There's a part of me that's pure. There's a part of me that wants to connect. And all I have to do is allow it to express itself by learning, by davening, by doing a mitzvah. Following? Clear? So that's level number 1 of joy, mentioned in chapter 31, the joy of the godly soul getting its freedom back, that it can finally express itself and what it truly wants to do, which is connect to Hashem. As I mentioned, we're going to skip chapter 32. I'm going to go to chapter 33. And 34, where the Alter gives other ways of creating joy. And it's going to be a total of 3 different ways of getting joy. The first thing he says like this. Remember, we learned in chapter 20 and 21, we learned and we understood how the only truth is what? What's the only absolute truth? Hashem himself. And everything else only exists because Hashem wants it to exist. And everything exists within Hashem. But the only true reality is Hashem himself. Right? So then let's think about this. The moment you spend time to think about that fact, when you think in your mind about the faith that we have as Jews, that Hashem is the only reality, then what is right now present in my mind? The truth of Hashem himself. Right? Because if Hashem is the only reality, then even in my thoughts he's the only reality. The only thing is, when I think of myself, I'm ignoring the truth that Hashem is the only reality. But when I think of the fact that Hashem is the only reality, what now is in my mind? The truth that Hashem is the only reality. So what's that like? Says the Alter Rebbe, that's like you being Hashem's personal host. You're hosting Hashem in your mind. He's being a guest in your mind, because now the truth that Hashem is the only reality is now in your mind. It's like you invited Hashem into your house, into your thoughts. What greater joy can there be than the fact that you know that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what happened to you, just in your thoughts, which nobody else can control, which means even if a person, God forbid, is, not nowadays, but sometime in history, Jews would end up in jail, not for their own fault, but because of anti-Semitism. A guy's stuck in jail and he can't do a mitzvah. He can't learn because he doesn't have any books. So how does he connect to Hashem? He can try to say the prayers that he has by heart. But the Alter is saying, even in your thoughts, you can connect to Hashem. Because if Hashem is the only reality, no matter where I am, He's the only reality. And the moment I think about that truth, He is now in my mind. And now I become Hashem's personal host. I'm literally hosting Hashem in my mind, in my thoughts, in my heart. Just by the fact that I'm thinking about Him, and I'm thinking about this faith that I have, that Hashem is the only truth. Exactly that. So what do you think about? You think about first understanding how Hashem runs everything. He created everything. And that the truth is that everything exists only because He wants it to be. And that's the only reason why it's here. So Hashem has this whole massive, huge universe. And then, in the 2 minutes you spend to think about, you know something? Hashem is the only truth. Just in that thought right there, you have invited Hashem into your mind and into your heart. And now you're Hashem's host. For however long you think that. Hashem's host. It's amazing, unbelievably powerful words. You are Hashem's personal host. He doesn't write this here, but as an example, this is something that Rebbe said once. It's kind of related. And this is going to get to the next point. In Nishmas Kol Chai, you know that prayer before Yishtabach on Shabbos? So there we say, if our mouths were as bright as the sea, and our eyes were shining like the sun and the moon, right? And we had all these amazing qualities, we wouldn't be able to praise you, Hashem. That's what we say in Nishmas Kol Chai, right? Ilu filu minashir kayam, osheninu kamagalov. Right? We still wouldn't be able to praise you, Hashem, because you're infinite. And then you know what we say right afterwards? Al kain, therefore, evarim shepilakta banu, the limbs that you gave me, my hands, my mouth, my brain, hein hein yoidu vivarchu, they're going to praise you. Hold on a second. You just finished saying that even if I have eyes like the sun and the moon, and my mouth is like the sea, and my tongue is like the waves, I still won't be able to praise you. But my little hands and mouth and eyes, that's going to praise you, Hashem? Doesn't it seem like a contradiction? So Rebbe explained like this. He gave a story. You ever heard the story before? Rebbe gave this mashal, parable of a king who was once traveling, and he got lost in the forest. You know the story? And the king sees in the distance a little light. It's a home. So the king goes to the house and knocks on the door, and there's a guy who lives in the forest. He knows his way around the forest, so he helps the king get out of the forest. Fine. The king, of course, sends a gift to thank the little peasant for helping him. The king sends the peasant a beautiful china set of beautiful dishes. So you can imagine the peasant has a tiny little shack. Now he has all of a sudden these dishes that are gold, silver, like, what's he going to do? He's going to eat breakfast on this? Like his bread and butter on this? Like, what? Say, put it on the shelf, because what's he going to do with this? Some years later, the king is traveling through the forest again and remembers what happened. So the king sends a message ahead and says, go to the guy in the forest, tell him I want to visit him. I haven't seen him in years. He helped me a long time ago. He helped me get out of the forest when I was lost. I want to go spend some time with him. So the little peasant gets a message, the king is coming to visit me. I don't have anything. What am I going to serve the king? How do I treat the king? What do I do? So what do you think he used? He used the dishes the king gave him. So even if the peasant had all the things the world had to offer, he wouldn't be able to host the king, because the king is like much bigger than he is. Whatever he can give to the king is like nothing compared to what the king has. But the gift that the king gave him, now he can use that to serve the king. And that's exactly what the author was talking about here. It's true, Hashem runs a whole massive world, and the whole entire world is relying on Hashem. But what did Hashem give you? Hashem gave you a brain, and in your brain you could think about the truth that Hashem is the only truth. Fine. In that thought, in your mind, Hashem is now being your personal guest. Thinking about this fact, that in your mind you could be Hashem's personal host, that should bring a huge sense of joy. No matter what my day looks like, no matter where I am, no matter what the situation, I can always use my mind to host Hashem. That's the first level of joy that the Alter Rebbe talks about in chapter 33. Then the Alter Rebbe adds like this. When I host Hashem in my mind, I'm very happy because I get to be Hashem's personal host. But you know who else is happy? Who else is happy when I think about the fact that Hashem is the only truth, and I think about my faith in Hashem, that Hashem controls the world, and when I think that way, I'm Hashem's personal host. Who else is happy? Hashem is happy to be my guest. Right? Because what does Hashem want? Hashem wants to feel a connection with you. Hashem wants Yidden to connect to Him. That's what Hashem wants, right? Hashem wants a connection with Jews. And then when you have that thought, what did you do? You brought Hashem into your mind. You became Hashem's host. Hashem is your guest. And now Hashem is happy that you're finally connecting to Him. Now, if I know that Hashem is happy with what I'm doing, what does that cause me? I also feel happy. So there's two happinesses here. First of all, there's a happiness that I get to be Hashem's host. And I get to have Hashem as my personal guest in my thoughts. But then the second happiness is that I know that Hashem is happy. Like, for example, that peasant who invites the king. First of all, he's happy. He gets to serve the king with the dishes that the king gave him. And then when the king comes in, the king smiles and says, I'm so happy to see you. What happens to that simple guy? He's even more happy. He's not only happy that he gets to have Hashem as the king as his guest, but he's happy now that the king is happy to be his guest. That's level 2 of happiness. Not only am I happy that I get to host Hashem in my mind, but I'm happy because I know Hashem is happy that He's in my thoughts. Following? That was chapter 32. I'm sorry, chapter 33. Chapter 34, the Alter Rebbe adds another layer, which is like this. It's true that it's impossible to truly understand Hashem. And even when I have this faith that Hashem is the only reality, and that everything only exists because Hashem made it, and I'm hosting Hashem in my mind, but to say that I truly understand Hashem, not true. So what's a way to connect to Hashem if I don't really understand Him? It's not a trick question. What's the way to truly connect to Hashem? By doing what Hashem wants. Torah mitzvahs. When I do a mitzvah, what happens here? My physical hand that's putting on the tefillin literally is becoming a vehicle for Hashem to be revealed in this world. My arm becomes a car for Hashem to get somewhere. Following? Hashem wants to be part of this world, be part of our life. So whether I understand it or don't understand it, when I put on tefillin and I'm doing Hashem's act, my hand is like a screwdriver Hashem is using to get something done in this world. That's a whole nother level of being Hashem's host. Not only am I host for Hashem in my thoughts, because I think about my faith that Hashem runs the world, and not only am I happy because Hashem is happy to be my guest, but I have a whole nother way of being Hashem's host. It's not just being Hashem's host. I'm actually become the tools for Hashem to be part of this world, for Hashem to get what He wants done. What does Hashem want? Hashem wants to be part of this world. That's why He sent this world, and that's why He gave us Torah mitzvahs. So when I do it, I now become the hammer and nail that's building Hashem's home in this world. Whether I understand or don't understand, it doesn't change the fact that these acts and these words of Torah and these words of prayer are godly words, and they bring Hashem into this world, and therefore my body, my physical body, is like Hashem's toolbox to get the job done in this world. It's an amazing, amazing thing to think about. That Hashem is relying on me and you to get the job done in this world. If that's not empowering, what could be more empowering than that? What could be more empowering than that? You know, what makes people happy? This is something we talked about in chapter 26. If someone's happy because of the things they have in this world, happiness never ends, because I always want more, I always want more, I always want more. Right? But if I remember that whatever I have comes from Hashem, then I'm happy with what I have. But being happy with what I have is just, I'm happy with what I have. Now there's a whole other level. When I understand that you know where my happiness comes from, you know where my confidence comes from? Not from other things that I do, or from things that I have, or from things that I'm good at. But my happiness comes in, and confidence comes from the fact that Hashem, who created me, is relying on me to get the job done. You know how I know Hashem is relying on you to get a job done? Because if I could do your job, you wouldn't be born. I would have been born. If you and I are both born, that's because you have a job that I can't do, and I have a job that you can't do. That's what this means. The mitzvahs you can do, nobody else can do. So whatever job you can do to get Hashem's work done in this world, nobody else can do. It's very empowering. That should give a person a lot of pride and a lot of joy in his life, knowing that he can do Torah mitzvahs like nobody else. Hashem has a big toolbox, and every single human being is another tool Hashem has to get the job done in this world. And you are a tool that no other person can replace. That's an amazing source of joy and a source of confidence. And all of this does not contradict the fact that I could be terribly upset over my arrogance. Because my arrogance comes from my animal soul. But the fact that I can connect to Hashem, and the fact that I am on a mission to serve Hashem here in this world, and that nobody else can do, and I can do Torah mitzvahs with my physical hands, that's my godly soul. So I can feel at the same time bad about my arrogance, bad about the fact that I've done terrible things, and at the same time feel happy about the fact that right now I have the opportunity to connect to Hashem, I have the opportunity to do Hashem's work, I have the opportunity to be Hashem's host. Following? So this concludes this section of Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe deals with how to get joy in our service of Hashem. And all of the joy that we talk about here, it's important to remember, all of this joy is not because I accomplished something, or because I have new toys, or because I have new stuff. All the joy comes from the fact that I've been granted the privilege and the responsibility to do Hashem's work, either by thinking about Hashem in my mind, or physically doing mitzvahs and learning Torah and giving tzedakah and praying. In all of these different ways, I fulfill my mission in life and the obligation and responsibility and the privilege that I've been granted born as a Jew. Even though I know that there's a part of me that's not so great. It doesn't change the fact that I can still do what Hashem needs me to do. Clear?